It's a very unknown film. So we're asking, and I think getting some answers to some very eternal questions here. And also, what is supposedly the afterlife like? And I'll leave it there for a second, because is there anything you wanted me to go back over or talk about?
No, you're doing a perfectly splendid job, Stephen, I must say. I think she's helping you do this.
Oh, there's no question. You think I could do this without her?
But the thing is, the important thing for people to understand is that this relationship that they have is a mimic of our relationship with all human beings. We are all of one mind. That one mind continuously manifests this universe, and there is no separation of the kind that we experience when we're in these separate bodies. I mean, I think this is a perfectly beautiful love story. I think it should be a movie, and since I'm talking to you, I can imagine it might become a movie at some point. But the thing is, this is an example for all of us. Having this kind of unity with another person is sacred, because this is how it begins, this total uniting with all of humankind. And the more we grow spiritually, which is what they have been doing, the more we feel that there is no separation. We are individual people. Our individual awareness is eternal. We know that. For a while I wondered about it, but we know it. But the point is, there isn't. Those people you see walking down the street, they are also a part of you, maybe not as close, but they're a part of you too. And I love this book for the fact that it is such a universal story, Stephen. It's a special, unique story, but it's also universal. Everybody should read this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm aware that a lot of the things that we discuss in here are difficult concepts for a lot of people. And I understand that completely. It is always this way when new things are arising and we have no real history, conscious history to know what context to put them in. I understand that. I know that some of the things that we talk about in the book are somewhat controversial, and I get that as well. I've been asked a lot, and one of the things that Lauren and I have both been so pleased about is that in the book, at the end of the book, towards the end of the book, we give out an email address for people to be able to be in touch with me. And you get in touch with me, you get in touch with Lauren automatically. It's a twofer.
It's a freebie. It's a twofer.
Yeah, it's definitely a twofer. And that's something I just want to put in parenthetically here too. Our loved ones on the other side are happiest when we are.
Yes, that's true.
They want us to find happiness wherever we can, to be okay, and to laugh at things and to laugh at ourselves, which I unfortunately, I think is one of the things that we have lost recently in this world, is the ability to laugh at ourselves and to laugh at each other and to not take everything as though it's life and death.
I would just add too, Stephen, to widows and widowers who are saying, well, darn it, I had a pretty good marriage, but it's not like that marriage, but it was pretty good. I'd like to marry again. I'd like to love again. How would he or she feel about that? I have seen a lot of correspondences with spouses, and in every case, no matter how good the marriage was, the spouse says, if you can find new love, I bless that. I love that. And there's no jealousy at all. You say that too in your book, I believe, that there's no jealousy.
Oh, no, there's absolutely no jealousy. And there is no question that if that happened to me, that Lauren would be more than happy about it, although Lauren knows me so well.
She knows that she's got you. I think that's probably true.
That would happen. And I will tell you something. There was a moment in which we did talk about that. And all I heard from Lauren was, well, she better be okay with threesomes.
I love it. I wonder too, there's you described some hugs from her, which were with very enhanced energy. And there is, in fact, a way that they hug the people that are not in physical bodies. do hug. And they say the closest analogy they can give us to understanding how it feels to do this kind of whole body hug is an orgasm. It's
That's
like a whole
very,
body orgasm. And I thought,
I will,
oh my God.
I will attest to that.
Okay, so I wondered if that's what she was actually doing.
No,
Was giving you
actually,
that kind of hug.
no, in all fairness, no, most of the time it is not that. Most of the time it is just an incredibly comforting hug. But
I thought so.
there are other times that we won't go into because I know it's a family show, but there are other times.
I love it. I do love it. Oh
Okay,
my word.
I've got to remember to make sure that our kids never listen to this.
An R-rated episode of Seek Reality. Oh my goodness. Maybe X even. I know. I mean, I'll tell you. I'll be frank with you, Stephen. I've heard from a few widows very recently who have said, and they weren't even shy about it. They thought it was interesting information for me to have. They said that their ex-husband, ex because he's dead, comes to them in the night and they have physical sex. And the first time I heard it, I thought this woman was out of it. But I've heard it from 3 or 4 people now, very recently. And I think that's what's happening. I think that the spouse, if they've been very close, the spouse comes and does this energy exchange thing with her or his surviving spouse. And that's what they're doing. That's what's commonly done in the afterlife. You don't even have to be good friends to do it. People do it all the time. It's a hug. We are all one being.
I know we'll probably move on from this pretty quickly now, but I do have to say that, there are moments when I am absolutely aware of that, and we have experienced that. There is no question that we have.
Yep.
It is, it's extraordinary what can transpire when you are open to this, when you're open to the possibility of it, because our loved ones, if they know that we feel them, that we hear them, that they love to communicate with us. And it's, I'm very careful about things that Lauren and I talk about. I don't ask her about certain things because I know that there's only so much that my human mind can absorb.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, and I know that this is going to wind up being controversial for people, but I also hope it'll be comforting for people. I think it was Oprah who started the phrase, there are many pathways to God. And I believe that that is absolutely correct. And that when you look at What Dreams May Come, for instance, which was a book that took me 20 years to get made as a film, that was the biggest challenge of my professional life because of its content. But what happens in dreams is that when Robin's character transitions, where does he go? He goes into a painted world that is literally made of wet paint. Why? Because his wife is a painter and works in a museum. And it's an environment in which he is comfortable and which he feels welcome. Who welcomes him first? A dog that he loved, that he hadn't seen since she was on her deathbed.
Yeah.
And she's there. So what Lauren and I have learned is that what we experience in our afterlife can be, I don't think there's any rules, but it can be a reflection of our beliefs. So for instance, if you believe that when you transition, you will be with God, then you will be with God and you'll be with the image of what you believe God is. There's absolutely, why not? Why, there's no, what's the reason to have a universal afterlife experience? And that's what we did in dreams. And that is what I believe the afterlife is about, which it is a reflection of our beliefs when we're in the body. And the reason we don't talk about, because I've been asked quite a lot now about the future that Lauren and I, our afterlife, how we envisioned it. The reason I don't talk about it is because it's very personal to us. And it will be completely different for you and for anybody else. And I hope that people will find that comforting, because it seems to me to be the only loving way to look at it.
Well, I have heard from in that I've read the accounts from the first part of the 20th century from hundreds of different people who had died, and they talked about it in fairly great detail. And there is, in fact, a communal afterlife. And I know that she is there, or she wouldn't be able to communicate with you. But it is custom to the extent that our own pets are there. We make our own home there. It's very, very comfortable and happy. But it is true that if you have a very fixed view of what the afterlife is going to be, the most common one being clouds with St. Peter's gates, there are what are called hollow heavens, where you can end up putting yourself. Hell is another one of those. If you're sure that's where you're going, because your mind is so powerful, you'll end up there. But that's not the real afterlife. The real afterlife is where she is. It is absolutely beautiful, absolutely gigantic, absolutely custom tailored for you personally. But it's communal at the same time. It actually is wonderful. It's hard even for us to understand how perfect it is, because as soon as she graduated, she was back in her eternal mind, which is basically many times more powerful than your mind is, or mine, while we're here. It's like we strip down to our shorts to go to the gym. We strip down to a very efficient mind for learning spiritually. But when we get back, we have all kinds. That's why she, I'm sure, remembers all your lives together now, because she's in that mind where she knows so many more things. But yes, it is very hard for us to understand just how magnificent, how wonderful, how perfect. It's as if the Godhead, the genuine Godhead, which is not what any religion worships, is so much loves you in particular, that the afterlife you go to is perfectly tailored to what you are most going to love. It's the most amazing situation, Stephen. I cannot begin to tell you how beautiful it is. It's impossible to express, but you have a sense of it now because of Lauren. I love that.
Oh, I definitely do. And I just want to throw in something here. A spiritual, you mentioned about hell.
Yeah.
A spiritual teacher once said to us during a weekend, you guys want to talk about hell all the time, okay?
Right.
So just understand, there is only one hell. One. Only one. And it's not in your afterlife. It's called high school.
Right. Oh, how good. Wow, there is wisdom for the ages. I have to say that's great. No, that's true. There is no fiery hell at all. There is an outer darkness, which Jesus told us about, but that's where we put ourselves. No judgment by any religious figure, and no judgment by anybody but ourselves. It's all good news. And one of the wonderful things about your book is that Lauren expresses that in so many beautiful ways. You are very blessed. I know you probably don't now. You maybe feel that way. I'm sure in the beginning you felt that this was the unluckiest thing that could ever have happened to you. But it was such a blessing. It is such a blessing now for the rest of your life. And it's a blessing for other people, Stephen, because you're telling your story. And this is such a wonderful, wonderful, magnificent, uplifting story.
I hope so. It is something that we want people to be able to relate to laugh about, to be touched by, to be intrigued by, to be challenged by. And as you said, it is a very quick read, which again is something that we did very intentionally. And if you'll permit me, I just want to say to people that if you are interested in our book, and I hope that you are, because this is definitely a word of mouth type of book, please take a look at whatdreamshavecome.com. That's whatdreamshavecome.com. It will give you a little bit of the background of the book. It'll also give you the link to Amazon where you can order it. It is available exclusively on Amazon, because we self-published it for a lot of different reasons. You know, I've had a couple of other books published